Hello, Courageous Casey. I've had all kinds of fun technical issues tonight. Today I really wanted to chat about courage. And when I listened to a little bit of Brene Brown's audiobook today, Dare to Lead, while I was out walking, and just reminded me, I think of her as like the mother of courage and vulnerability, right? And so as you know, I've been calling myself Courageous Casey. And what I like to do is always define and look up words and find out what people think they mean. And I recently heard, and again, I think it's Tony Robbins who said, like, courage is not necessarily, it's not having fear, it's having fear and acting in spite of fear. So that you really can't have courage without fear. So it's like acknowledging the fear and acting anyways. And you might think, well, what's, like, we're all afraid of different things, right? For me, I was afraid of everything. And usually I've found working with lots of people as a coach, as a yoga teacher, as a business owner, that most of us are afraid of getting started. But like once we get started, like every time before I do these videos, I'm like, oh, the thoughts, and it's going around and around. And then once I get started, I'm like, oh, I love just talking about this stuff. And it's fine. So I pulled up one of Brene Brown's books, one of her first ones I read, The Gifts of Imperfection. I feel like this is becoming a book sharing video series, but the very beginning, when she's talking about imperfection, the gifts of imperfection is practicing courage and also compassion. And she talks about courage as a habit or a virtue. Like, you get courageous by acting courageous, by really practicing courage. And that has been my experience, is that the more I practice being courageous, the more courageous I become. And the Latin word courage comes from cor, the Latin word, which means the heart. And it originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all of one's heart, which is basically what I'm doing here. And there's really this bridge between courageousness and vulnerability. And again, quoting Brene Brown, she says that the link between the two is having courage when you can't control the outcome, right? And like, we are living in a time right now where we can't control the outcome. And in some eerie way, this is a very familiar feeling for me, something I felt my entire life. As a kid, I couldn't control whether I could breathe, or so I thought. And, I really just kind of grew up never planning, never trying to think too far ahead in the future, because I didn't feel like I could control any of it. And I didn't know if I would still be alive to experience any of it. So it was, I think that everything has what's like a dark and a light side, right? The shadow and the light, and everything can be seen in different ways. And for me, in our modern society, so many of my ADHD qualities can be seen in a negative light, but really it's like I have the ability to stay very present in the moment, which is a gift. Sometimes that comes with some amnesia, right? I can't remember, what am I supposed to be doing? And it's hard for me sometimes to move forward with goals because I'm so present. But courage is really allowing ourselves to be seen. And that's, again, part of my intention with this video. Another quote she says that courage doesn't always roar, which I'll come to that in a minute with the lion, but sometimes it is the quiet voice at the end of a day that says, I will try again tomorrow. And, I'm doing health and wellness coaching right now online with people, and it's amazing because so many people are frustrated, like, in the world right now, but whether they're trying to meet certain goals, lose weight, get in better shape, or get jobs, or change their financial situation, like we often just want to give up. It's so hard. But sometimes we just have to wake up the next day and say, I will try again. I will try again. And just, be in that state, that positive state. So yeah, it's a really powerful practice. The other book that came to mind too is and I'll talk more about this book in another video, but the 5-second rule with Mel Robbins, which I'll tell you about that in more depth later. But the last part of this book, she talks about courage too, and it's the courage to commit. And so for me, to commit to 90 days is like a very courageous thing. I've done this once before, 6 or 7 years ago, but it's kind of a big commitment because I have struggled with follow through, but it's a courage. It's like the more I keep speaking my voice, the more I feel comfortable with blending the outside and the inside. And again, I've mentioned the mask analogy. Like tomorrow night, I'm really excited. I'm doing something very courageous for me. I'm going mountain biking. I have a mountain bike. I got it out today. My tires are flat. No big deal because they have bikes. It's through the Phoenix recovery, sober, active community here in Denver, and they're all across the United States. But I'm so grateful to be able to be in a community with people who are like, I can really be me. You know, I feel like that in my 12-step rooms and my yoga studio, but sometimes out there in the world, you know, people judge, you know, like we don't feel comfortable being ourselves. So I haven't been on a mountain bike in many years. I did some serious mountain biking like 15 years ago, and I'm nervous and scared, but I'm going to be courageous and just commit and step up and do it anyways. And then that just makes me think of the last thing I wanted to share is like the Lion in the Wizard of Oz. I was watching another video from a friend tonight, and he was talking about the Wizard of Oz, and I'm a Leo. I've always really associated with lions. I have a very big roar, I think, but I've often felt like, you know, I have a big heart, but it's been hard to share it sometimes because it can get broken really easily, and it's sensitive. So, you know, being willing to be that vulnerable. I had a situation, well, before COVID, but that I was rock climbing, and I was really working on some new skills, and I made a very stupid mistake. I mean, I was on the ground just practicing with the rope, but I just, you know, when I went to the instructor and it was like, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And it was so, I felt so humiliated. I just cried. But it was like a learning opportunity, you know, for me to also look at like, where has that been in my life and why am I still holding on to some of that? So, so I'm really crossing my fingers that tomorrow night mountain biking will be fun. And just thinking I probably need to do my video earlier or I guess after. But it's a courageous thing I want to get out there and do more of the fun things that I love to do and that are scary. It scares the crap out of me, and I'm going to do it anyways because it is good exercise. It's fun, and I get to be with people that I feel are very safe and supportive, and that's an amazing thing. So my question to you is, how does courage show up in your life? How do you define courage? What are you doing that's courageous for you? Like once a week, something big, or once a day, or maybe it's making that phone call to someone you are not so comfortable with. Maybe it's rehearsing it before you call. Like journaling is a big thing. I write things down before I do this so that I can gather my thoughts, and then that helps to strengthen the courage to put it out there. And you know, I think that often we're afraid of rejection, but the more we just, well, you're not going to die. You know, if they say no or if it doesn't go well, just pick yourself back up and try again the next day, right? So thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing and connecting. And please let me know in the comments what courageous act you are going to be doing. And I hope our paths cross very soon. Namaste. Play.